Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for participating in my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
So I'm glad to be here. Thank you. I'm a middle school and high school educator. I teach sixth and eighth grade Earth and Space Science, high school engineering, and high school environmental science. I'm also a JPL Solar System Ambassador and a Space Foundation Teacher Liaison. So all things space.
That is awesome. So, what got you interested in this space?
To be perfectly honest with you, my son, when I started teaching my son, he wants to be a rocket engineer and started years ago. But as soon as I kind of dove in, I'm just hooked, and it's just so great because every day something new happens, and so there's just a constant changing, constant learning, and I love the fact that we are just growing and growing and growing, and it's just it never stops being amazingly interesting.
Yeah, it is amazing how the pace has picked up. I remember, a couple of decades ago, there was like maybe 5, 6 rocket launches a year. And now there's like, I think this year we're going to have over 100 rocket launches across the globe.
It's crazy because I feel like I missed some here and there, and I'm like, wait, I thought I knew about that one, and there it is. It's so amazing just to see all the ones, even the ones that don't succeed. It's great to see that we're trying and working on new ideas and innovative ideas, and knowing that you have to fail to succeed is something that we emphasize here at school, and we do rocketry too, which is a lot of fun. Um, so the Saturn V is like a huge thing for us. Homer Hickam, we read October Sky, so we're pretty rocketry infused here.
That is really awesome, and like the solid motors with the ISTA rockets.
We do. Most of our rockets fly with F motors. Uh, we've got some we've got some bigger rockets that we've got around the classroom that we don't use for competition, but that we fly just for fun. So
I was seeing that there's a group online that does like vector controlled um, or thrust control rockets, where they can actually cause the rocket maneuver by moving around the solid rocket motor.
There's some pretty high tech rockets. Even in high school, they've got some kids that are, going to huge fabrication shops and these giant solid rocket and even liquid rockets. So it's pretty cool. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but it's. I remember my kids first said, "Hey, can we do liquid rockets?" And I was like, I don't know if we're up to that. And they're like, "Well, if we make nationals, can we do it?" And I was like, "Sure," thinking we wouldn't. And then we made nationals, and I was like, "Okay, we're still not quite there, guys. We need a bigger shop." But it's exciting to see them stay curious. And we
Oh,
just kind of join. We just kind of find things that they're interested in and launch different projects. And I never know year to year what things we're going to get involved with. Just whatever the kids get interested in.
what would it take for y'all to actually create a liquid rocket?
So we would really need to know a little bit more about the motorized part of it and building those pumps to keep the oxygen going through. And we just don't have the facilities. We have a really small little maker space that we kind of stole a corner of a building, and it's like we try to squeeze everybody in, and we have 4 rocketry teams, and we can't even get one of them in there. So we're out in the lawn building rockets. So we're a long way from that, but it's a lot of fun just getting to do what we do. So we're
Uh,
excited about the moon. I think this is so cool what you're doing. I mean, Artemis is such an exciting project, and we're trying to keep up with that as best as we can in the progress. But this is so neat that you're keeping up with this. Astrobotic is like the coolest company ever. So that's so awesome that they're going to get your stuff there. It's just exciting.
it is, but you know about Intuitive Machines also?
A little bit.
So they're in Houston, and they're also a commercial lunar payload services company that's been tasked with landing a probe on the moon next year as well. So they'll be the first 2 private companies to land something on the moon.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
But how old is your son now?
So my son's actually a senior. I don't know where he's going to go to school. We're actually driving to Huntsville, Alabama over the break to check out, the rocket capital of the world. He hasn't been there, and check out U of A or UA, University of Alabama, Huntsville. I went to space camp, and so we're going to go check out the Space and Rocket Center. He hasn't got a chance to do that, and check out some rocket companies, see the campus. So he's a senior, and we'll see where that all goes.
My youngest son, he's also a senior in high school,
Oh,
and we're going through the college admissions process right now. My older son's about is a senior in college, so I've been through it one time before, but it really feels painful. The whole
I may not live through this one. Yeah, so I don't know. So mine are a freshman in high school and a senior in high school. So I am not handling the first senior very well. So I cannot imagine having the last one be a senior. So
oh, you're talking about him leaving home and thinking
yeah,
about
so
that.
just the whole yeah. My daughter, she wants to be a marine biologist, but she was one of the ones on the NASA Wear team that just they just presented their project to Langley, and that was really exciting. They had a great project, and their presentation was amazing. So that was a lot of fun. We were supposed to get to go to Langley, but then COVID kind of canceled it. So, but
No, we all need spacesuits now.
yes, just to keep everybody. And it would be a lot more fun if we got to walk around like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know. Everyday life is an EVA. Forget about. So then we'll be really ready for being on the moon or a space station. We're like, that's nothing.
I have to tell you, it's kind of weird talking to somebody without a mask on because even in class, I have kids that are like at home, and then most of my kids are on campus. But even the ones I talk to on home on Zoom, I've got my mask on because I've got a room full of kids. And so it's been a long time since I had a conversation with someone not with a mask on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Mm. Well, actually, I don't. Most of the people I talk to are on Zoom. So I did interview somebody at a restaurant a few weeks ago, and we're both wearing the mask and kind of do the interview thing. It was kind of neat to finally be in person, actually talking to a human being.
Yes.
So that was kind of neat. So
Well, I think this is amazing. We're like I said, we're just excited to be going back to the moon. We start every school year with JFK's speech, and about going to the moon and doing things because they're hard, and challenging ourselves to push ourselves even further, to not to risk failure in the pursuit of greatness. And so that we start every year like that, and then we just kind of dive into whatever we want to do. But I still find I watch from to the moon from the earth to the moon at least once a year. I watch the whole miniseries. My engineering kids every year start with Spider because we talk about what's it like to engineer something that you have no idea, no background. You can't Google ideas, and I think that the moon is a constant reminder and inspiration for what we can do and the greatness that can be achieved. So I think it's really great that you're getting people talking about the moon again and keeping the moon in mind. I know there's so much about Mars, and I love Mars too. One of my things I'm really, really proud of, our kids watch, we read The Martian, and then we use NASA software to go and like look at kind of the latest great spots that people are thinking about, where do we want to go next? And a couple of years ago, my kids were like, they looked at like 14 different possible landing sites, and everybody did a presentation using all of their NASA software and all the data that they had collected. And then we voted, and we voted Jezero Crater, or the kids did. And then 2 weeks later, NASA was like, we're going to Jezero Crater. And my kids are like, yeah, we could have told you that. And so Mars is really great, and it's a fun goal and pursuit. But to me, just everything that we accomplished with Apollo, the moon has my heart. So I think this is really great what you're doing, just to keep people talking about it. We have to keep that excitement up so that there's momentum, no matter who's in office, no matter who's at NASA. We want to keep that ball rolling forward. And I think you just getting people talking about it's going to keep it going. So,
but as you're talking, and as I look at your classroom and I think about all the schools that we have around where I live, I doubt any of the classrooms look like yours.
oh,
And I doubt,
being a part. Do you want to see my classroom?
yeah, that'd be
It's
fantastic.
really messy because we had a party today.
Sure.
I'll take you on a tour. So actually, these are things that the kids did for October Sky. We have our posters. Well, it's Christmas, so we have our R2D2. This is our rock, meteor, and more space collection, and all of our like outer space stuff. This is actually our astronaut corner, and this is the vest that my kids did for NASA. We've got the space station, all the astronauts. Well, some of the astronauts I've had a chance to get to know over the years. I don't know. Clayton Anderson's like my favorite. Fred Hayes, I've gotten to meet him a few times. My kids have actually gone to see Charlie Duke and Fred Hayes. Let's see. So there's those guys. And then this is the room with all the resources that the kids can use to do things. So we've got, I get a globe every year for Christmas. So I got an astronomy globe. We got Mars and the moon, space guys, all the different moonshots and all the different things. And then this is kind of my corner of my room with all of the cool different, I guess, programs I've gotten to go to. So I've gotten to spend a week at JSC behind the scenes. 4 years in a row, I got to do that, and that was super cool. And I think that's where I got a lot of it. Space camp, and then just more rockets. We actually, this is turned off right now, but we track the space station on ISS above. So that TV is usually turned on with ISS on it. And we actually got to talk to the astronauts a few years ago on a flyby. And Scott Tingle was one of the guys, he was actually the guy we got to talk to. And now he's one of the ones chosen to go to the moon. So the kids are like, well, now we can say when he gets to the moon, like we talked to Scott Tingle and then he, maybe walked on the moon. So that's going to be really cool.
That is awesome. I mean, a lot of people who get into a field and they have a lot of passion about it, usually it's because the passion of a teacher that they've come in contact or somebody in their life.
I hope so. I know I did. Mine's the opposite. Like I find my passion in my students. And I find it in like a lot of these books and reading about these, these heroes that got us started on the journey to the moon. But, I've got kids that were going to be doctors and now, they're thinking about being astrophysicists, studying the universe. And I can't wait to see what some of them do. It's going to be pretty cool.
And, I think we're going to have a lot of hyphenated jobs. Like we're going to have, doctor astronauts, engineer astronauts, scientist astronauts, technician astronauts, accountant astronauts.
What I've been telling my kids with law, like kids that want to go into policy and law, I'm like, we're fixing to have to figure out like who gets what section of the moon and how do you colonize Mars? And I mean, is it going to be like, the Cowboys where you race and throw your flag down and say, this acre of Mars is mine? Or we just, how are we going to decide those things? And so some people that want to be lawyers, like you might be doing space law. How cool will that be?
And I've talked to a lot of space lawyers through this. In fact, one of them I talked through on Monday is trying to get some laws passed to protect the boot prints of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. And apparently that bill just passed the House and the Senate to actually save the footprints.
So is that like, do they like rope off an area that says like, they're not going to go anywhere unless I guess because, if you land anywhere close there, you could blow debris and dust on and like cover them up.
Exactly.
I know that, like they're kind of safe if we don't touch them, but yeah, that's really cool that they're, trying to figure that out. We were talking about how, when you do the things where you can put your students' names or you put your names, we all have our little tickets to, with InSight and Mars 2020 rover, and you get your ticket and your name's on the rover. And, it's kind of cool. We're like, well, someday you're going to go to Mars and, there's going to be the InSight Museum and somebody's going to be like, hey, that's my great grandmother's name on that list. And, they're like, you guys are in middle school, but your ancestors may go to vacation on Mars or the moon and see your name on a list. How cool would that be to be, that they think that you kind of got that started and that it happened during your generation. And I was born like literally a couple of months after we quit walking on the moon.
So like 1973 or?
Yeah, I was born in like January of 73. And it's like, how did I miss that? That's the most exciting time in all of our history to me anyway. But I'm definitely an Apollo nerd now.
Jim Bridenstine, the current NASA administrator, and myself were both born in 1975. He's the first NASA administrator that was born after Apollo.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that would kind of make sense. But my grandma, she just passed away. She was 91. And she was the person that, she always made sure that that the family had their food and took care of everybody. And she's like, when Apollo 13, when we weren't sure about those guys, she said, I got in front of that TV and I didn't move for 3 days. I didn't care if anybody ate. I didn't care if they went to school. I didn't move for 3 days. So, it's great to hear those kinds of stories. And she actually had saved a bunch of clips. And so I just got a bunch of newspaper clippings from her when she passed, and they were the original from the landings and stuff. And so that was a really special treat from her.
But about the students that might be interested in becoming lawyers in space law, if you're interested, I could definitely hook you up with some of the space lawyers. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to do a virtual session to talk about.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think they would love to talk to the kids about it and kind of plant those seeds.
We should stay in touch. And you just up with the Space Society in Houston, right?
Yes.
So wanting to go to meetings, and then I just can't get to Houston.
Well, we're having them all online right now.
Okay.
We used to meet at the library, but that shut down, I think, in like April of last year. And so we've been meeting online. Our next meeting is going to be, I think, January 9th on Saturday at 2 p.m. Central.
Okay.
So
that would probably work. I'm president of the local pony club too, and we have a member drive trail ride that day.
Oh, that's cool.
I might could get on there. That would work.
And plus, we should start a Space Society in Bryan.
We should. We have so many people here. I had a guy come. So one of the things that we kind of started doing like years ago, I had to teach 7th grade, and I didn't want to teach 7th grade because it's like cells and body systems and so I love 6th grade and 8th grade, which I teach now, because 6th grade is the solar system and 8th grade is astronomy and the universe. And so I kind of get to do space all year. And so then I had to give up a grade. I was like, I give up 7th grade. And so, but one of the years I had to teach 7th grade, I was like, what do we do with body systems? I was like, oh, we can build a spacesuit, and the kids can figure out how to protect all of the body systems. And so a guy that's in my local astronomy club, he was an engineer for Apollo 15. And so he was one of the guys. So then when they were going to drive the rover for the first time, they had to change the suit so you could sit and stand up in the suit, because it wasn't that didn't have the dexterity at the waist. And he came and talked to the kids, and they came up with some awesome spacesuit ideas. And then that led to colonization projects. And then they won all these colonization projects in Austin. And so we've got like all these projects going to the moon because that was the prize. We're just waiting for somebody to get there, but supposedly their projects are going. And then the kids sent, they sent 2 things to space, but the one that was really cool was they took a Brazil nut and they encased it in gallium. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that when it got up above the atmosphere, it would get warm and it would liquefy. And they thought that the gallium in liquid form would be a better radiation protection than in solid form. It was way above my head, but they did really good. And A&M came, and unfortunately we found out that the radiation was lower than the Brazil nut would have been here on Earth. So we don't know how that happened. So it went to space and came back with less radiation than the one that was still here on Earth. But
it must have been really good protection.
Yeah, it took away the radiation.
That's great.
But it was really fun to do stuff like that. So, we just never know year to year what the kids are going to want to do.
Well, was that with like a high altitude balloon?
It was with, we did a sounding rocket with cubes in space.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is really neat. And I guess your students, what most fascinates them about space?
So they're all a little bit different. I've got some that are really into rockets. My son, as much as he's into rockets, his big passion is asteroid mining. And so all of his colonization projects have been centered around asteroid mining. And the last one, he put a base on Ceres and was getting water off Europa, kind of did a gas station in space. And that was kind of cool. So some of them, he's really into that. We've got some that are into just astrophysics and how do things work. One of them, she just had an interview with MIT. We'll see. But she wanted to do doctor, and she kind of went into she's thinking like you were saying, space doctor, radiation, astrophysics. She's really not sure, but she wants to study the universe and see how she can apply it to human health. Um, and so they kind of all have a different spot. It's rocketry is a big thing, but as far as like down and going into a career, I've had a couple of them. One of them just kind of switched gears and he wants to build sports facilities, but that's really cool that all the engineering that we did kind of led to that. But for space, I would say a lot of them are really curious about, they don't really want to go to space. A lot of them don't want to be astronauts, but they're like, I would love to build a spaceship that sends people to Mars or the moon. So
That's really, really neat. I was wondering, in terms of other school districts and other schools, are you in contact with like other teachers that also have a strong passion for space, or is there anything like that?
So kind of, when I did the thing through the liftoff program with the Texas Space Grant. So a lot of those teachers and I stay in contact, and we kind of share ideas and share lessons. And um, I'm at a private school now, so I really have a lot of freedom. So when I say, hey, we're doing a thing with the Great Conjunction, and my kids are out, every night looking at Saturn and Jupiter get closer and closer together, and we use SLU, and so they do SLU missions all year long. So we kind of we literally do space all year. I mean, we do force and motion, we build rockets. When we do chemistry, we're studying the universe. And so I have a lot of freedom to do that. And so I'm in contact with other teachers that some are in private schools, some are in public schools, and we try to share ideas. And then of course, going to Seek and things like that, you just get great ideas. NASA has so much out there that it's almost overwhelming.
Oh, it is. I mean, like their weekly STEM Express email.
I mean, I would love to. I try to, and I literally can't. I mean, there's just so much to do. Between 6th grade and 8th grade, we literally, when I say we do space every day, we do space every day. So
I almost feel like like the North Houston Space Society, we could have like people that can kind of work with teachers and see what their curriculum is and maybe suggest which ones to do. It's almost like you need some type of mediator between all these opportunities and what's actually happening in the classroom. It's too much.
You get to the point where you go, okay, I would love to do that, but we're already doing this and this and this and this. So maybe next year we'll do that. And I try to kind of, early in the year, trying to grab a lot of contests and ideas for the kids. And, I have one girl that she's an amazing artist and she loves space. And she enters a lot of space art contests. We entered one with the band OK Go. I don't know if you know them.
Is that the
one that has really cool videos? All their videos are super cool.
Was one of them done on like a 0G flight?
It was.
Okay. Was like the paint and everything.
Yes. Yeah. So, and they have one with the Rube Goldbergs. So like my 6th graders right now, they watch that video. We're building Rube Goldbergs. And so we entered an art contest. We didn't make the finals, but it was so cool just to think about, we had this thing that basically was a star that like supernovaed into a black hole that would spin and then like popped out a neutron star, like while it was in, microgravity. I don't know how we didn't win with that idea. It was so cool, but I'm sure whatever did win was really cool. But we did that. She actually, I can show you, this is kind of cool. So she, for one of the space colonization projects, she painted this for their series base.
Oh, wow.
So I have kids that are into space art and like, how many things, and we've talked about, especially with like exoplanets and things, and how so many things right now are artist renditions because we don't have actual photographs. And so she's actually interested in maybe being like a rendering artist for, space conceptions and stuff. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's really important, I mean, because we're such visual creatures, being able to take these ideas and kind of create some type of visualization of it, sometimes the key to understanding them.
Well, and especially with exoplanets and like spectroscopy is really cool if you really know enough to get into it, but it never gives you anything to see. It gives you all these numbers and printouts and readouts, and you're just like, well, where's the picture? I remember the first time I was out at the McDonald Observatory and this guy was getting all these data points from, the Kepler mission. And we were like, that's awesome. And he like just gave us this just giant printout of just numbers. And we were like, so what does it mean? Like, what does it look like? And he was like, oh, well, that's not really what this is about. Well, this is terribly boring. And it really isn't. But people need to be able to, visualize, what is, I don't know. I think of Pluto, and it's just, the Pluto that we grew up thinking what we knew what it looked like. And then to find
Oh
out we
my
had no idea
gosh.
what it's like. And
I know.
now it's like nothing we thought it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really amazing, and the fact you have like this sublimation happening and recondensing and freezing, and it's like very dynamic environment actually.
And I think the glaciers are nitrogen. So we
Hmm.
were talking about the progression of the solar system, and we've got like CO2 and dry ice on Mars being the ice caps, and then you go a little further and you're like, the methane lakes, and then you go further and you're like, wait, that's a nitrogen glacier? That's crazy cold.
Oh,
Um,
exactly.
my son is the one. We actually, when he was little bitty, we watched New Horizons launch, and as soon as it took off, he was like, well, I need a new career because someone else is beating me to Pluto. And so I'll be curious to see where he sends something in the solar system. I don't know.
Yeah, do you all have any like 3D printers?
We do. We actually are getting. We have a really great dad that does some cool stuff, and we're getting two more over the break, and a cutter and a 3D imager. And so he's donating some more stuff to us like that. We do some robotic stuff. Let's see, a lot of soldering and circuitry and things like that.
I'm kind of excited about the potential for that and automated mining and refining like becoming a thing. Because I mean, can you imagine having like these facilities on like the moon or Mars, on like the moons of Jupiter, the moons of Saturn, on asteroids and what have you, and you want to build like a new space probe instead of like building on Earth and waiting for it to finally get there, you just send the plans and it gets
Yeah.
made right there. It's just like, whoa.
The 3D printing is amazing. And the kids are like, just the fact that they have one on the space station now. And so if they need a part, they just upload the code, and they can print anything that they need to print as tools to use right there. And then I also think it's kind of cool. You get like every once in a while there's like, oh, this asteroid is worth $10 trillion. And the kids are like, what? It's just a giant rock in space.
Well, and on top of that, the price of things is based upon the scarcity. So
Right.
you bring all that here, the price, becomes a $10,000
That's
asteroid.
right. It's only 10 trillion while it's still in space.
Yeah, in our imagination. Yeah.
Right, right. And then I've had the women in material sciences at A&M. That's become such a cool field, and a lot of colleges are making undergraduate degrees, and so when we talk about, I think it's kind of cool. Like when you think about when they built the lunar lander, and they were like, basically when they came out for the outer shell, they were going to use, basically like really thin layers of the mylar and things like that. And they were like, well, how can you make that thick enough? And why would you use that? And we didn't even know what materials would hold up on the moon. And so material science is a really exciting field right now too. Just to kind of think about like, what kind of drill bits are you going to use on an asteroid? And there's the kids come up with all these different ways to either drill into them or melt them first, and just like extract everything warm and hot, and like then to break them up by densities as they come onto the spaceship. And it's really cool to see them get excited about like what things are made of, and we kind of take it for granted. Like we're thinking, giant nickel asteroid. Well, that's weird and cool. And
I was seeing that there's this coat made out of this material that is like used in spacesuits. It's like so thin, but is like better insulation than like anything else.
Yeah, it's on my Christmas list.
Oh, is it? Okay.
They're really expensive.
They are expensive. They are expensive.
It's like so cool that it's made of space stuff.
My boss is in Minneapolis, and the rest of my coworkers are in Minneapolis. So I used to have to fly up there a few times a year. I've been there in January and February, and I guarantee you that suit would be that every bit worth it during those months.
You would get your money's worth. In Texas, I would get to wear it like never.
I know. Here you wear it to protect you from the heat.
So I'm in Bryan. I don't know if you know that, but so we're just down the street from you guys. I'm about an hour and a half from NASA if I drive really fast and there's no traffic.
Yeah, that's definitely. Well, I'm kind of curious. When did you hear how did you find out that we were going to send people back to the moon in 2024?
Well, I mean, I get so many like I'm on so many NASA newsletters, either as a fan or as as a teacher and the educator sites. And so, I mean, obviously they made the announcement that we were going. I think it's pretty cool that Trump's he kind of did something different when he kind of said, okay, I'm gonna fund this, so even if I'm not there, this isn't going to slow down. I think he did it with the moon, and I think he did it, if I'm not mistaken, he did it with the Europa mission as well. And so whether or not, whoever's in the White House, we're still going to Europa, and we're going to try to get below the ice and explore the oceans. And then, we're dedicated to go into the moon. We talk about that a little bit. Like, it's a little hard for people at NASA. You get super excited about a project, and then someone else takes office, and it doesn't even matter really who it is. If their vision is different, you're like, well, we're going to, I feel like Orion's been in production for forever. And then it's going to go to an asteroid. Now it's going to, and the Constellation project went away. And so I would say that I kind of learned about it just because I literally read NASA something every single day. So being a junkie, I think you don't miss out. I wish I had more money to just like travel and to go to the Space Foundation's, the big space symposium every year. That's so cool because you hear from the Department of Defense, and you hear from ESA, and you hear from, other JAXA. They do amazing things at JAXA. And I just, to see like the worldwide view and not just the NASA view. And then the collegiate things that are going on and workings there in the private sector. I wish I could just go to that every year. So mostly I just do newsletters. And everything's bumming. Like this year's just bums because like even Seek is online, and I'm like, part of the fun is getting to hug my Saturn V every year. I want to touch it. Like I don't, I want to be at NASA, but so I think I just found out by wanting to know every day what's going on. I get the JPL daily report, which is crazy because it is amazing that they can put out that much every day that they've done that day. JPL is like the most amazing thing on planet Earth. Like those people are crazy.
I had to sign up for the JPL daily report. I didn't realize there was such a thing.
Oh yeah, you can't. I mean, I don't even read it every day because it's like, wow, I feel like a total failure. like what they did in one day.
What did surprise you that most of the non-space people I've interviewed don't know we're sending people back to the moon in 2024?
Yes, that would surprise me. Just because I feel like it's really out there. But you get kind of naive because when you're in the middle of it, I know that my students know, we're stoked. We're like December 21st. I mean, it's like the solstice. There's a meteor shower. There's the conjunction. We're watching it at, on SLU at 2:00, and then we're going outside at 6:00, and we don't even have school, and they don't care. They're like, I'm gonna be in Florida, but it's gonna, this is what it's gonna look like in Florida. And I don't know. We're just so immersed in it that I guess you kind of forget sometimes that people outside of here don't know.
Yeah, so, in fact, I talked to one person, and they said, "Why is NASA keeping it a secret?"
Wow. And I feel like NASA tries really hard to market.
They do, but I think they use social media mainly. And, the algorithms really kind of focus what gets bubbled up to the top and what you see to how your interests have been expressed previously. So like for you and me, it's like all in our face, right? And for like these other people, they've never clicked on a space thing. So, it's just like not seen at all.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. And I mean, the media, there's so much going on in the world with COVID and with the presidential election. And, we're still mini wars I think that I'm sure it gets, it's like a side note to, oh yeah, and by the way, we're going to the moon. Yeah. I've gotten to watch a couple of rocket tests at Firefly.
Okay, wow, really?
So yeah, that's super cool. They're horizontal tests. They're really small rockets taking up micro satellites and stuff, but that's been really cool. So they're kind of in the news in Austin. They just started $1 million rocket, like there's an actual rocket school at UT now, which it's really tough to get into, but they're an amazing new group. I think Jeff Bezos just built a $200 million rocket facility in Huntsville. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
actually, one of our members of the North Houston Space Society, he's always dreamed about going into aerospace. And back in, I think, March or April, he got laid off from the oil and gas industry. And now he's in Huntsville he's responsible for getting their facility ready. So he's doing
oh,
the build
wow,
out and stuff. And
that
so
is awesome.
I know, I was like, yes, we have a success story.
Well, and then, I mean, originally with Apollo, all those chemical guys, they all came from the oil field, and they were like, oh yeah, we can mix chemicals for rocket engines, sure, because no one did it. So it's like, I think I can do. You probably met Norm Chaffee.
I've heard of him. I haven't met him.
So you got to meet Norm. I don't do selfies. My first selfie was at the Saturn V with Norm. He's amazing. But he was telling us how that's kind of what they all do. Oh yeah, I can do that. And it's oil and gas. Like I mix chemicals all the time. So kerosene, yeah, I got that. And they have literally all got their jobs at NASA by kind of lying.
Um, well, maybe exaggerating or
Yeah, or like, I mean, nobody else was doing it, so why couldn't they, right?
uh, true. So what do you think NASA should be doing to kind of break through these sort of information bubbles to reach people who don't think about space every day?
That's tough. I think one thing that NASA does really well is most everything that comes from NASA is very positive. Um, I don't know if they get on more, like, kids. They're doing a really good job marketing kids. I will say that. Like, I think that they've got a lot of kids shows. They get into kids shows. If they could find a way, I feel like for a while, like Big Bang was kind of a way to get interest back into NASA when they would like put things on Big Bang Theory where people would watch the show like that. I don't know but they're going to have to find something mainstream like that. Where you're just going to hit an audience that you would never expect to hit. It's tough, I mean, even with getting onto Bennu, that was kind of you think, well, we just touched down on an astronaut, we're bringing stuff home, and it wasn't even. There's a little side note on the news, and you're like, come on, we went to an asteroid, and I know the other one, the Japanese one, right? Is the Japanese one that came back? Mm-hmm. I can't pronounce that one.
But is it like Hibashu or something like that?
Yeah, the samples are back and good.
Yeah. And then the lunar samples just came back too from, that China did.
So but you don't hear about it. Like I only hear about it, like you're saying, we only hear about it in our social media, in our emails and things that are targeting us. So, I mean, I think it's important to get it out there for kids. I think there's, NASA's education is really good. It's almost too good. Like I was telling you, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. When I actually got rejected from space camp the first time because I was told I knew too much about space.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was really weird because when I got there, most of the teachers weren't space teachers. And so I think Space Camp did a really good job because their goal was to get teachers excited about space that weren't already excited about space. I mean, I got to command the Orion, capsule, and like that was my dream job, right? But everyone else there was just learning what Orion was, and knew the Saturn V, but didn't know the history of rocketry, and didn't know any of the things that were going on, like you were saying. And so they did a really good job of targeting teachers that weren't excited about space to get them excited about space. And I think that's what we have to do with kids. You gotta start early because by high school you've missed the boat with a lot of kids.
I know if we just had every elementary school child knowing that we're going to the moon, that would take care of about 90% of the population because they would go home and tell their parents.
Yes.
And then the parents would go to work and say, you wouldn't believe what my child said. Right.
And then, we've got astronaut Abby, and, we've got some of these kids that are kind of putting it out there. But again, I probably only know that for the same reasons. So, I do stuff in the community. We do, we did some cool things with the last solar eclipse. We do star parties in the area. being a solar system ambassador, I get a lot of cool NASA swag to give away in the community, and we try to get it out there just for the general public. We visit elementary schools and do science nights and things like that. In fact, we do a space night here at my school every other year. It was the very first thing to get canceled at COVID.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
literally headed. I was 3 days away from going to JSC to pick up a trailer load of cool stuff to bring back, and A&M went dark, and so all my A&M groups backed out because they weren't allowed to be on campus. And then, I called NASA and I was like, "We're having to shut the school down." So that was rough. So it was the first thing that got canceled. But we do that here, and we invite the whole community out. We have about 300 or 400 families that'll show up, and every single booth is about space. So, I think we just have to keep trying. I think that the Solar System Ambassador group is fast. So I think that's getting these volunteers is one way to get it out there.
And so if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yes. My son's really mad at me that I haven't signed up for Jeff Bezos' City of Citizens in Space. So that is on my Christmas.
Jeff Bezos, what is it called?
Citizens in Space. It used to be a thing with Blue Origin.
Citizens
I don't know
in
anymore
Space.
because my son is like, "Mom, you never did it." So I'm supposed to do it, but I haven't looked at it again in a while. But yes, I would go to space.
Okay. Wow.
Now, I live on a horse ranch, and I love to be outside. I fish and hunt and hike and anything outdoors. I kayak a lot. So, I don't want to live on Mars. I think the more you learn about the solar system and the uniqueness of the solar system, our planet is so amazing.
I was wanting to do something for the rodeo, and I was thinking about this huge mural of like an astronaut on a horse in a spacesuit. Like the astronaut has his spacesuit and the horse has his spacesuit, and it's kind of like, I thought that'd be kind of neat.
They had something at the Bob Bullock Museum in Austin, and it was like Cowboys in Space.
Oh, yes.
Did you see that?
I did. I went to the New Worlds conference a year ago.
I was there.
Oh my goodness.
That's the space competition that my kids enter every year.
Yeah, I know that. I've met the person that runs the Cities in Space contest. Say again.
Holly.
Holly.
Oh, Holly.
Holly. Yes, Holly.
Holly's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you were asking about my kids, I have some that are space ambassadors with Holly, and they would love to talk to you.
That would be fantastic. I would love to talk to any of them.
Yeah. So I know I shared your schedule thing with them and told them that they should jump in and sign up and pick a day and talk to you.
That would be fantastic.
My son is the first one. He was like, "Oh, I'm so in. I want to, So he actually worked with Holly this summer and a couple of other companies, and he did some Zooms with school kids to do some summer projects about space, just to kind of keep people interested over the summer, which was really fun.
That is awesome, and yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. But you said you would not immigrate to Mars, but you would go like to orbit.
So yeah, I mean, I just I don't know that like I feel like being on a submarine, right? And you love the ocean, but when you're on the submarine, you're not experiencing the ocean because you're stuck in the submarine. I would rather scuba dive where I could get out and move around. And so I don't know. I mean, you do the whole, Buzz kind of has the attitude, well, you have to die somewhere, so I'll go to Mars. I mean, if I die on Mars, I'm gonna die somewhere. I don't know. I'm not old enough to say I'll just go die on Mars because I've got too many mountains to hike here. Like.
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, being like cooped up in a minivan for like 6 months.
Yes.
I think a lot of people who thought they might want to go to Mars after this COVID thing, they're like, if maybe being cooped up isn't such a good idea.
Right. And then, we watched the movie, The Space Between Us, where I think it's Asa Butterfield, and he's born on Mars. And so his body's not equipped, but he comes to Earth because he just wants to see what Earth is like. And they basically have to get him back out. He has to go back to Mars. But, that's kind of an interesting, it kind of gives you a perspective of, how, not to say boring Mars is, because I watched The Martian and I think, I want to do this tomorrow. If we find a way to get there and back faster, I would love to go. But I want to
Yeah.
come. I don't want to go. That's one of the reasons I don't think NASA will ever be first is because, we have to bring people home. There's other companies that will say, we'll just send people there. And we don't have to worry about getting you home. Well, if NASA's got to put that extra set of engineering and restrictions to say we have to be able to bring you home safely, that puts them behind, from the beginning. So I don't think NASA will be first to Mars. I think it'll be an Elon or, I don't know if Mars One is still doing their thing, but somebody's just gonna get in a spaceship and go at some point just to do it.
At some point. I don't know. For me, I'd be happy with just the moon, and then.
Yeah, the moon is days. I like the days away, and I don't like the 7 months away. I think Apollo 13 did prove that if things go wrong, we can get you home in a couple of days. Hang in there.
Exactly, and you're always within good communication distance and
yes,
and good stuff. Well, I'm really excited to meet you, and I'm glad you're inspiring like the next generation. I wish we had some way to kind of get your knowledge and enthusiasm into every school, because I think that would make a world of difference, literally.
Well, I'm working on it. It is a little bit. I work at a really small school now, and I used to teach a lot more kids, and there was that whole, you don't get to reach as many kids, but then it got to where the curriculum in the public school was, for our district, we want to see, every single classroom doing exactly the same thing today. And I'm like, well, why did I go have this great experience at NASA if I can't bring that awesome experience to my kids? And, they're like, well, we'd really rather you just cut and paste this little activity with atoms. And you're like, okay, but atoms come from stars. And, and they're like, well, they don't really need to know that. I'm like, they don't need to know where elements come from. Like, that's crazy, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I'd rather teach small amounts of people and be able to, disseminate the right kind of information with the right kind of enthusiasm and projects. And so, getting to do things in the community is awesome. I would really like to start coming to your meetings because every month I'm like, oh, I missed a meeting. I want to go. And then Ken has the one in Dallas, and I'm like, oh, I've got to get to those. And so
well, I mean, seriously, I think we need to start a space society in Bryan. I mean,
really should.
Wait, let's do it. You and I can make it happen.
Oh, I know. And so, I just went blank. Mike Fossum. Sorry, Mike Fossum. So he used to work with the SEDS kids here on campus, the students for the
Exploration Development of Space.
So he came to the SEDS meeting I was at. He's in Galveston now, and he's doing amazing things at the Galveston campus. But I know he would have been perfect to help us get started here.
We could start one down there too. I think we need like dozens of them around town. It's like AA meetings, but for spaceaholics.
I'm definitely a spaceaholic. I'm sorry. I could talk for days and days. I'm sure you have things to do.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for days or days too. So I am
super honored that I got to talk to you, though. This was really exciting.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we were able to talk now, so I can put on the SD card that's going to the moon. So
I know that's so amazing. My son has all this stuff going to the moon. I'm like, yeah, I get to be part of it too. And Astrobotic is just, their story is so awesome. So that's really cool. I got to work with some high school kids at the Seas group out of Austin. They're like interns, and so one of them was working on the Grace project, and the educator at UT, she worked with Red at Astrobotic and helped write some code for their landers and stuff. And now she writes for the Grace satellites. And she just said that he was the most amazing mentor. She's like, I was up there to be a psychology major, and I saw a flyer and I thought, I'm going to go to a robotics class, and got there. And he was like, this is an advanced robotics class, and you've never done any robotics. And she's like, and he's like, no, it's okay. Stick around. And she goes, it changed my whole life. He was just amazing. I'm always rooting for them to do great things. That's a cool company.
We had Jennifer Lopez from Astrobotic come and talk to our North Houston Space Society chapter.
Oh, wow.
That was actually, we had it via Zoom. I mean, with Zoom, now we can include a lot of people that wouldn't normally be able to come and present at a meeting, which was really cool. So you've been kind of reaching out, but that was neat.
I know Zoom is a word we had never heard except for like the Zoom with the Mazda. And
Oh, right.
I feel like every day someone says Zoom at least 5 or 6 times.
It's true. It's true.
So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch with some kids for you because they would love to talk moon.
It sounds good. And have Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.